Round 6 of the 2022 Formula One season takes place at Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya in Spain. The championship race is tighter than ever at the front, with Red Bull and Max Verstappen catching up in the last two races. Meanwhile, many teams plan to bring upgrades from the frontrunners to the back of the pack, as is customary for any European race. So join us as we look ahead to the Grand Prix and how it could be one of the most important in dictating the pace of the rest of the season. The Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya has hosted Formula One since 1991, and the 2022 event will be the 32nd Spanish Grand Prix to take place there. The circuit secured a new deal with Formula One in November 2021, ensuring that the event will remain on the calendar until at least 2026. According to the prompter, the 2022 Spanish Grand Prix is a sold-out event. Due to high demand, additional grandstand seats were made available in April. Due to coronavirus-related restrictions, the Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya was last open to a full house of fans in 2019, with only 1,000 in attendance on race day last year. The circuit gates were open to all fans in 2019, and 160,000 people attended. That figure was down 10,000 on the previous year, in part due to Fernando Alonso's absence from the grid. With Spain's only champion now back on the grid and Carlos Sainz in a front-running Ferrari, there'll be plenty of home support at the 2022 Spanish Grand Prix. The race is expected to be another chapter in the fierce development battle between Red Bull and Ferrari, and the latter plans to bring a major upgrade package to regain the momentum they lost in Imola and Miami. The characteristics and setup of the Ferrari and Red Bull cars have been noticeably different throughout the campaign's first phase. Red Bull chose a lower downforce and drag configuration for its RB18, giving it an advantage at top speeds and flat-out corners. The Ferrari F1 75 has more downforce and drag, allowing it to excel in low and medium-speed corners, under acceleration and traction zones. However, the divergence between the two cars was not so clear-cut in Miami last weekend, as Ferrari found itself unable to get on top of what Red Bull was doing. An upgrade package that Red Bull introduced at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, which revolved around aero tweaks and weight reduction, appears to have given the team a pace advantage. Ferrari has so far refrained from making any changes, but it is expected to bring its first major development package to the next race in Spain. While Red Bull appears to be gaining ground in the championship race, Ferrari team principal Mattia Binotto insists he is not concerned. In terms of performance assessments and how much Red Bull developed compared to us, is that a concern? I would say not. I don't think that the difference is huge. It is a matter of maximum a couple of tenths, and we should not forget that in Miami, we locked the front row. In qualifying, we had a better performance compared to the Red Bull. So overall, in a weekend, I don't think there's much difference between the Red Bull and the Ferrari. If there's a concern, it is how much they are developing considering the budget cap. But more than a concern, maybe it's a hope, because at some stage, they will need to stop. There's a small difference in speed between the Ferrari and the Red Bull, but the biggest difference is how the two cars achieve their lap time. Red Bull has traditionally been faster on straights, while Ferrari has been the advantage in corners. Still, as previously stated, it appears that Red Bull has taken a step forward in all directions, outpacing Ferrari both on straights and in slow corners. As a result, championship leader Charles Leclerc believes Ferrari should have delved deeper into understanding how they lost their momentum. We need to keep pushing. Upgrades will be very important throughout the year, and I hope now that we can do a step up from the next race onwards. But it's been tight since the beginning of the season. So, what can we expect from Ferrari and Barcelona? Well, their Spain upgrade package will be substantial, judging by the fact that it has reportedly been in the works since the start of the season in Bahrain. It will most likely include a redesigned floor, reducing porpoising and allowing Ferrari to run the car lower. Porpoising describes a car mimicking the movement of a porpoise as it travels through water. It's linked to the 2022 rule change in Formula One, which have given teams more freedom to generate downforce from the underside of the car using ground effect aerodynamics. As a car becomes fully loaded with massive amounts of downforce, it pushes down on its suspension, putting the floor close to it or in contact with the track, potentially stalling the airflow underneath. The sudden loss of downforce caused by the stalling floor causes the car to lift back up on its suspension, allowing the floor to resume working and forcing the car back down. This causes the car to become unsettled, which isn't really an issue on straights. But if the phenomenon occurs at low enough speeds to affect the car during braking and some corners, you have a problem. To this point, Ferrari's solution has simply been to raise the ride height. This increases the speed of the porpoising trigger point, allowing the corners to be bounce free, but it decreases downforce and naturally limits the amount of downforce the car can withstand. Ferrari hopes that the new upgrade package will reduce bouncing and allow them to run the car lower, allowing them to exploit the floor for more downforce and better lap times. And, given the small margins between Red Bull and Ferrari, it is reasonable to assume that if the upgrade works as intended, Red Bull may be in trouble. In the next races, it will be at least our turn to try to develop the car as much as we can by introducing upgrades. As usual, I hope that the package we are introducing is working as expected in order to try to catch up the current gap we've got compared to Red Bull, says Matita Benito. The nature of the Barcelona track may also give Ferrari an advantage. As a high downforce track, the emphasis is on the medium to fast corners, with only one long straight on the circuit. According to Red Bull team principal Christian Horner, this means Ferrari can take advantage of the different path they took with the car. Barcelona is a whole new challenge now. High-speed corners, Ferrari is strong in that area, so it's horses for courses. If everything goes as planned, we should see a stronger Ferrari than in the previous two races. The Spanish Grand Prix will be critical for the pacing horses if they are to regain the momentum they appear to have lost. Moving further down the grid, with quite a big gap from the leaders, we have Mercedes. The German car manufacturer has struggled thus far, as the new era of Formula One has thrown a wrench in the works for the team. Since the beginning of the season, the team has struggled with major porpoising, which triggered at much lower speeds than their competitors. As a result, the team has been forced to run their car much higher than they would like, which, as stated previously, is not ideal. George Russell and his teammate Lewis Hamilton finished 5th and 6th in Miami last weekend, albeit far behind the leaders. They appeared to be more competitive in Friday practice, but that form faded as the weekend progressed. However, Russell is optimistic that the team will be able to recapture that momentum of brilliance in the future. Yeah, it is there. We just need to try and unlock it. I think we still don't really understand why it's so unpredictable. Toto is throwing the word diva around a lot, but I think that's a bit of an understatement because it's so unpredictable. When the thing just starts bouncing in the corners, it's a killer to drive. It's safe to assume that the team is devoting all of its resources to resolving the porpoising problem as soon as possible. Mercedes has made limited progress in recent races, but has not been able to catch up to the leaders. Instead, it finds itself in a sort of no man's land, comfortably ahead of the midfield, but too far behind Ferrari and Red Bull in terms of pace. But the team is still hoping to make a big step forward with the car at the Barcelona Grand Prix. And according to journalist Gary Anderson, what we saw at the Miami Grand Prix could either make or break the team. What happened on Friday to Saturday in Miami might just be the key that unlocks the understanding it needs to solve its problems. Or it could just be another confusing piece of the puzzle that makes it all even harder to understand. It is going to be hugely significant for its prospects for the rest of the season. The race in Barcelona will also be significant because Mercedes will be able to compare data from running the older design concept, which was used during preseason testing on the same track, to their new zero side pod design. While the team continues to seek answers, it sees the next race in Barcelona as a critical moment in determining its next steps. After running at the track in preseason testing with its standard side pod launch spec, the Spanish GP will provide an excellent opportunity to compare the behavior and potential of the various concepts. The team has made little progress this year, and Mercedes believes it must decide whether to stick with the zero-pod solution or try something new. When asked by the media if the team could rule out returning to the launch spec philosophy if Barcelona demonstrates that's the way to go, team principal Toto Wolff said, "Well, I wouldn't discount anything, but we need to give all of our people benefit of the doubt. They have produced great race cars in the past, and we believe that this is the route to go. Barcelona is definitely going to be a point in time where we are able to correlate with what we saw in February and gather more data." I'm also annoyed about saying the same thing about gathering data and making experiments, because it's physics and not mystics, and therefore you have to unpick the data. What Mercedes needs to learn from the Spanish Grand Prix weekend is if the present zero-pod solution's theoretical performance advantages can be realized in practice. With data from running rather than testing, it'll be easier to determine whether the previous design, which produces less downforce in theory, is truly superior in practice. As a result, it is unlikely that the team will make any changes in Barcelona, and their pace will most likely remain consistent with previous races. So, now that we've discussed Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes, let's take a look at the midfield turmoil. The midfield has been erratic since the start of the 2022 season, and that is unlikely to change in Barcelona. The usual suspects at the front of the midfield are McLaren, Alfa Romeo, and Alpine, with the latter two planning upgrades for the Spanish Grand Prix. Alpine has scored points in 5 occasions in 2022 between Fernando Alonso and Esteban Ocon. But while the Frenchman has scored points in all 4 of the last 4, the double world champion has not scored since the Bahrain Grand Prix. This was due to a number of factors, including an engine failure in Saudi Arabia, an oil seal failure, and an untimely safety car in Australia. and contact with Mick Schumacher at the start of the race in Imola. A penalty for hitting Pierre Gasly in Miami knocked him out of the points last weekend, and Alfa Romeo and McLaren have surpassed Alpine's pace. Alpine team principal Otmar Szafnauer confirms that a slew of upgrades are on the way to help them maintain their pace and reignite their bid to be the best of the rest. There are pieces for Spain, which is the 6th race. There will be pieces 2 races later in Azerbaijan and in the 10th at the British Grand Prix. It will be a constant flow of evolutions. The Romanian-American observes that the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona lends itself to a wide range of car strengths, and thus believes that his team will be in a good position if they can demonstrate some good pace there. I hope that Alpine is strong in Barcelona. It is a circuit that is going well for us, and many people say if you are strong in Barcelona, you will be in most places. On the other hand, Alfa Romeo will try to ruin their party. With 31 points, Alfa Romeo is currently in 5th place in the championship. Valtteri Bottas, a seasoned veteran, leads the team in scoring with 30 points. The team's last race in Miami was largely a disappointment compared to previously strong showings, which team principal Frederick Vasseur believes it is a good problem to have. The fact that we are disappointed with the result shows how much progress we have made this season. Alfa Romeo will look to maintain its strong form in Spain and will once again attempt to compete for the best of the rest. Vasseur has confirmed that if it all goes well, a big upgrade is on the way to Barcelona, though the team has provided no further details. Given that McLaren has no plans to bring any upgrades to Barcelona, it is safe to assume that the race might not be in their favor, and the battle for the 4th fastest team will go to Alfa Romeo and Alpine. Things become even hazier as you travel farther down the grid. AlphaTauri, Haas, and Williams have all experienced dramatic swings in performance, and we cannot make any firm predictions. That's all for now. Barcelona, as it stands, is set to be an exciting and pivotal chapter in the championship battle. Ferrari hopes to turn their fortunes around at the front, while Red Bull is looking to deny them that opportunity. Mercedes has the chance to finally decide whether or not to return to their previous car specification. And meanwhile, in the midfield, Alfa Romeo and Alpine are bringing substantial upgrades, which could result in another major shift in the midfield battle. What do you think about our predictions? Will Ferrari make the performance leap that they are hoping for? Will Mercedes finally find out what's causing their porpoising? And who will triumph in the tense midfield battle? Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below.